early on, because you got G2, a team that you've been covering seemingly forever, and Team One, who you covered pretty much all of last year. Where are you sitting on this one? Who do you think's taking it?
You will find no bias here, Des, in this cast. Who do I think is going to take it? Honestly, in my predictions, I went for G2. I think we've just seen Team One have a good win against Cloud9, but now they're coming up against the bigger brother. They're coming up against the tougher enemy. This is the real sort of end stage boss in G2 now, and this is going to be an even bigger test than Cloud9. For me, I think that G2 will probably edge this one, but we've got to remember, Team One, we've seen them play Chalet twice in a best of one. We've seen them play it 4 times recently, but in stage 1, best of 1 format, they played Chalet twice, and it went to 15 rounds both times, max overtime for them here. They are capable of playing on Chalet. They've just struggled to get that final result.
What I love is that it's still a very raw map. Even teams that have played it 3 or 4 times have not shown everything. We've already seen in the previous game, for example, Team One barely ever played Villa, step in and bring us something a little bit new for us all to enjoy. So we'll see how this one shakes out. Nomad and Valkyrie, the 2 bands, are coming out for G2. Team One going with the old trusty Thatcher, followed up by the Goyo. So looking to deny away some of that utility basis here for G2.
One thing that concerns me a little bit there, Des, is Team One's stock bans on Chalet. We've seen them in stage 1 play it twice. We've seen them ban Thatcher and Goyo twice. And my concern there is they're coming up against Shas here. One of the most decorated coaches, if not the most, inside of Siege. We know how much Shas does his homework here. He's going to have been prepared for that. He's going to know that that's exactly what Team One do on Chalet. And I'm just a little bit concerned that Team One are leaving themselves a bit predictable.
Quite possibly. And speaking of predictability, we're going to the site that everyone absolutely laments. It's in the basement. It may as well be closer to hell itself. It's Wine and Snowmobile. Now, everyone has looked at this and said, oh, this is absolutely the most hated site. No one wants to play it. I still think back to APAC, for example, when Down 1 played this map. I think it was against T1. In that case, when they played in this map, Snowmobile was brought out twice. It was a win for either side, so it was quite fairly balanced. But you know what, Tim? I'm going to delegate to you, the stat man himself. Talk to me about this site and what we're seeing for it.
Again, looking specifically at stage 1, where this has been played in best of ones for Team One, we've got 100% win rate defensively for them down in Snowmobile and Wine, and also 100% attacking win rate. Team One in best of ones are yet to lose this site, so it is a big one for them to start coming into.
Alrighty, well, with the Mute and the Mozzie coming out, quite a popular pick you tend to see coming out something like a Clubhouse. It's all about that intel denial, as well as bringing along those C4s, of which there are 3. As Lagonis, also playing on the Kaid, has one in the back pocket. But it looks to be a bit of a vertical setup coming out to start things off. And when I say vertical, I mean a full spread, as they've had players up on the 2nd floor, despite being defending the basement.
Kanto's just going to be opening the solarium windows there, looking to just apply some pressure onto the trophy stairs. Alamo, he is rooted in the piano room at the minute. He's got the Mute Jammers in position just to try and again. What he's trying to do there is prevent access to those drones. Don't allow G2 to actually lock down his location, use the Z pings, force them to face check him and take the gunfight. Take the gunfight they will, as Alamo finds himself down and bleeding out. Potentially going to be picked up by a teammate here as he crawls his way down library stairs, but absolutely not, as Kanto gets in and takes full advantage. Des finds the headshot onto Neskin and leaves Alamo bleeding out, just moves forward, puts the kill on the board, and that is very quickly gone in G2's favour, but Levy, he's able to stop the bleeding.
Kanto has absolutely punished Team One on the Roma player in Kanto that everyone has been asking questions of these last few months. Is he able to get back to the form we previously saw him in? His entry stats were absolutely woeful in stage 1. It was not a good time for him, but to step in and get the opening 2 kills onto Alamo of all players as well, someone that we celebrate so much, 102 kills, the top fragger around the world, and Neskin, who had an absolute field day in game number 1, is unbelievable. However, Levy, He's putting a levy on G2 and saying for the price of our 2, it's 2 to you as well.
Citizen, however, he gets in and buddies up with Kanto. Could they be the dynamic duo of the day as he finds himself a kill, shutting down the very active levy, and we find ourselves 2 versus 3 coming into the final minute here. G2 have the advantage on attack. They need to start making the numbers pay for them now. KDS looks to challenge on to those blue stairs, but it will only be the Gemini of Virtue for the time being. Out goes the nade, the explosives just trying to force Team One deeper and deeper into site. Lagonis, as ever, finds himself left on site. Could this be a big nitro? He's waiting for the hole to open out. It goes. Yes, he gets the kill onto Kayak. Levels things up 2 versus 2. 35 seconds left to go. This is anybody's Des.
It could be. They're coming down into it. Citizen with 1 into KDS. It's a 1v1 to kick things off, and it's Virtue to come up big. We speak about this duo of Virtue and Citizen all the time. The number of times in stage 1 that they ran away with 30 kills between them. Great way to get things kicked off. I want Ace. 15 rounds like that one where it comes down to a 1v1 in the dying seconds. That is what the Six Invitational, is all about.
We've had a bit of everything there. We've had the buddying up. We've had the big nitro kill from Lagonis. That was an absolute beauty out of the garage door. We've got it on the replay. I could watch this all day long. He knows exactly what he's doing, and despite Kayak's best efforts, he just couldn't get to that nitro cell in time. But G2, they were able to squeeze that round, and that's why I picked G2 in my predictions, Des. I think it's going to come down to a lot of tight rounds, a lot of tight gunfights, but G2 for me just edge it in terms of ability and experience over this very new Team One roster, and I feel if a few rounds go in that fashion to G2, it could just start to wear down on Team One a little bit.
If this were like the whole new challenger thing that we keep on joking about, this is where Team One have sat down and been playing with a joystick, for example, and I don't know, Cloud9's walked in and pulled up a PlayStation 4 controller. You've then stepped into the next one and go, see you later, boys, absolutely demolish you there. G2 walk in and whack out one of those massive boards, a proper joystick button combo, and you're like, oh man, this can't go too pretty. Whether or not that translates into actual game performance and delivery, different story. But this round is going to be a rehost, I think, coming in. We are cursed with round 1 rehost here today so far, Ace.
Certainly seems like it on the B stream, doesn't it?
However, it's explosive. Everyone is a bit of a cooling off after the start of these first rounds.
To be honest, they fired me right up, Des, and I think you're right.
That isn't hard, mate. Let's not
just
lie.
need a second to take a breath on the back of that one. If it's going to come down to 1v1s in sight, we're going to need a little breather here and there, because that was a spectacular first round to get us underway on Chalet. And what I love out of that first round, Des, is it screams promise to me. We've got, yes, a G2 win, which is probably the expectation here, but Team One showing that they can at least take them to the wire, they can compete, and they can fight for these rounds. Levy coming in big there, and that is another string to the bow of Team One. We saw Alamo and Neskin doing the job last time, but if we look back to Team One's previous Chalet performances, Levy has delivered on this map as well, and may well continue to do so today.
Can we just appreciate the backing music for a second?
So relaxing.
Relaxing? You joking? Someone's about to drop a mixtape, mate. The beat's set. Your player's going to jump up, pick up a microphone, and there's going to be a rap battle breaking out between the two teams if it goes down into overtime. It's great tracks. It's definitely different to what we had from last year. I'm loving it, as we have done the game so far. Let's talk a bit about round 1, though, because we touched on Kanto and how, again, his entry scores have been pretty atrocious so far when you look across his performance in EUL Stage 1. When you looked how that first round went, Team One went for a very respectable 3-story setup. They went for basement, they went for the ground floor, they also went for this roam on the library stairs. Very commonly you try and play up there, waste a bit of time, burn through some drones and utility, and then bucket down site to get downstairs onto site. Everything's fine, you play from there and you've wasted some time for the attackers upstairs. Good stuff. But when Kanto's swinging around and getting Alamo with the first bullet, killing his potential Reza with the second, and before you know it, it's a 5 versus 3. I think it speaks a lot of volumes, 1, to G2 to be able to take those gunfights, and for Kanto especially, but also 2, that it can still come down to a 1 versus 1, despite it starting as a 5 versus 3.
I'd agree with you. I think the round was probably won at that point. You know, when you've got Alamo top floor, you've got to make use of that. You've got to burn some time, first and foremost. It was dealt with very quickly by G2, but then also to pick up Neskin. I don't know if it was a little bit of a risk to maybe try and get Alamo picked up as high up on those library stairs as they did. He was bleeding out, but he had plenty of time. He could have crawled further down, got himself onto that mid-floor, rather than going for the revive on the stairs. It's easy for us to look back at and say, you know, it's just half a flight of stairs. What difference does it really make? But in those terms, you've got to think, remember that kill from Kanto onto Neskin? It was a headshot, and it's because Neskin's left his head peeking up above those stairs, so I think he was just a little bit too eager to get to Alamo and pick him up. Should have waited for his man to get himself at least onto that mezzanine level, if not round the corner into a bit more safety to pick him up. Would that have made all the difference in the round? Possibly, possibly not, but G2, they took full advantage of it, and what I like from G2 there was that killer instinct, was just get in, get those kills, rip them apart here and get this round on the board. And that, for me, that's the signs of an exciting team here at Six Invitational 2021.
It's the risk versus the reward, right? Where you are saying, you say, let him crawl down the stairs to you, res him halfway up the stairs. Okay, cool, you're relatively safe. Maybe you get picked up from below. Or you try and take the trade onto Kanto, get your man up, and suddenly you're in a 5 versus 4 and you've walked away the winner. Sadly, they came out the wrong side of that coin toss. We'll see how round 2 plays up once we get back into it. Should be back in there in just a couple of minutes, guys. Appreciate the patience of sticking with us through some of these early tech issues. And it's obviously worth mentioning, you know, everything that's going on with COVID protocols here. There's a lot of stuff that goes on between games, full-on clean downs. It's the same with the desk that we're on. Like, I'd love to sit here and snack on this desk, Ace. We have to go back up to our rooms to eat.
Certainly do. We're not allowed. We've got to keep safety first, of course. There's the most important factor of all. And it does mean that things are running slightly differently. So there will be 1 or 2 issues to just iron out along the way. But we are back in, and this particular issue is ironed out nicely. And the game is set. It's poised, Des. We are 1-0 to G2 against Team 1 here in the first, not the first European performance, but the first European performance here on Stream B, which is G2, and they've got themselves an early advantage.
Rightio, let's get into it then. So the shock and awe factor of round 1 of the snowmobile wine defense has been put to one side. Now we're going in towards kitchen and dining. That oNe stepping into the field, and I'm sure we have got plenty of jokes to make about the way that you talk about those laser gates, Ace. We'll get into it as the games progress. What I like is on the other side, and it's not been so much a direct hard counter, but a good few teams have made use of it. That Ayana coming along for G2, using that to run the Gemini replica to go through those laser gates, bring them down. It makes life a lot easier than to burn drones through them or utility through them, for example.
I like to see the little peak holes that are being opened up from the melee of the oNe there. Up in Solarium, just opened up in the floor, and that's going to allow an angle down onto the trophy window. Given that we are in the dining and kitchen site, trophy window can be quite popular to get on there as an attacker and just try and hold some angles through, cut off the library stairs, rotate. So playing and looking for some vertical pressure from there is always a good idea as well. Now, what we are going to see from the attackers, generally speaking, even for a dining kitchen site, is going to be they want that top floor control. There's super important here on Chalet. Often we'll see the push coming from Solarium side and Library. Try and pinch those defenders on the top floor. Take a couple of kills along the way and then start working those vertical angles. We've got Kanto on the book, so G2, they are more than ready to get in, get that skeleton key open and see if they can really unlock this site.
Big one for me is going to be the war over the bedroom window. The vertical play coming in there from someone like the Buck can get up there and open up the floor from below and see straight down into kitchen and start cutting out rotates. We've even seen some teams in Europe play the reverse angle on that. And I like this as well. The soft wall has got both of the oNe laser gates on it here, just to stop things going flying through that wall. Someone who's playing on the other side being threatened out. Keep a very close eye on what utility is expended to go through those, whether it's drones, whether it's the flashes, whether it's an the Zofia or the Ash. No doubt quite a few options to play with here.
I love oNe as the operator name. It's on the right player. It doesn't quite work for Levy, but on the right player, it sounds like a cool extension to the name, like Alamo oNe, for example, whereas Levy, it doesn't quite work the same, but I'm sure as the tournament goes on, we'll get some great examples. For now, hiding in behind those laser gates, just looking to apply pressure in towards the library area, and This is quick work from G2, Des. They're going to get that K9 wall opened up and it starts to force Levy back, but he looks to get aggressive potentially towards that door onto the balcony as well. This could be an opener if this is over-peaked from G2 here. Virtue just looking to pressure. He moves across quickly enough, and Levy, he's finding himself between a rock and a hard place right now. Does the only thing he can, and that's attack, but shut down from the Virtue nade, and that finds us 1 minute 10 remaining in the round, and 5 versus 4 in the advantage of G2 once again.
He's going to be feeling that pressure from G2 for weeks. Jesus. The press coming in from the mezzanine to the south, coming out from the balcony to the east, the doorway being threatened by grenades, there's someone below destroying the floor. I'm amazed he was alive there for as long as he was. He did waste quite a bit of time, but has now been removed away, and for G2 you start thinking about the site now. 45 seconds to play. KDS still threatening his way up solo, but it's the second kill coming out as oNe brings down Alamo. The third falls down as well with a wonderful shot coming out of Kanto. He is lit up so far today. A 5 versus 2 for G2 with 30 seconds still to play.
G2 looking electric right now as Kanto moves slowly down those trophy stairs. He's just holding down any sort of rotate so there can be no flank to try and clear out this top floor pressure now. Out comes the Nitro once again, but dodged this time with some fancy footwork as Virtue and Citizen, the dynamic duo, get in there. Flawless round for G2, and they're looking pretty comfortable inside of round 2, Des, and we are seeing the EU chalet where it favours the attackers.
Massively so, yeah. I mean, attacker side of chalet is what we've all kind of become used to. It's the feeling that we've kind of developed, I think, of this map. And very few teams in Europe actually stepped into it. I think we saw it in week number 1, coming up between Trainhard and Na'Vi, but that was it. From there, it was part. It's banned out seemingly continuously. But for G2, you can kind of see why they only used it in GSA, maybe to mask some ideas of what it was they were doing, not take it as hardcore as they might here at SI, because all they've stepped out with in that round, again, is sheer pressure. How fast they were and how many members they committed to taking control of the office was unbelievable. And the poor players from Team 1 that were trying to hold it down, not a chance in hell of getting out of that one alive. Great start for G2, 2 rounds on the bounce.
Team 1 for me just feeling a little bit uncomfortable here, Des. We can see third round, they're playing on the defense. We are, of course, using a 2-round rotation on sites, and what that means is that when the defenders win on a site, they have to play 2 rounds away from it. Win or loss doesn't matter, but before they're allowed to go back to that site, so they can't just rinse and repeat the same victory on the same site. But given that Team 1 haven't won a defensive round yet, they would be able to go back to those same sites. And the fact that we've seen 3 rounds and 3 different sites so far just suggests to me that Team 1, they're struggling to find their place a little bit. They don't feel like they're particularly close. If you think, no, we can get that, we just need to try it again and go back to that same site and just add a little adaptation, a little tweak, but that's not what we're seeing out of Team 1. This time going to Bar and Gaming, third round, 3rd different site, and G2, they're certainly keeping them on the back foot. The pressure is locked on at the minute.
It is, and I'm looking at the picks coming out already here for Team 1 and seeing the Frost. That just screams to me that you're going to see quite a bit. I swear to God, bullets have not stopped being firing since this round started. It's unbelievable. But the Frost coming out, probably 1 or 2 of those put on a window inside the library, I think. That often is the go-to hole when you're defending top 4. It's the same. Most teams like to extend into library. Here it makes perfect sense as you're playing above. Quite a bit of gadgetry dedicated up here at the same time. Now the test comes on to G2 is 1, how fast can they get through it? And 2, how much pressure comes in? The answer is an absolute metric truckload. Virtue with another grenade kill coming out. It was the same in the previous round. G2 hold no prisoners. Alamo again, the second one dead. Things are flying in the favour of the European team, Tim.
This is what I said to you before coming into the game, Des. My big concern was how will Team 1 get a handle on Citizen and Virtue, and right now they are struggling to keep them under lock and key. There is absolutely nothing they can do. They are running rampant over them here on Chalet. Now, G2, they can take a breather here, Des. They can sit back. We're at the halfway mark. They are 5 versus 3, and they can start to just force Team 1 deeper and deeper into sight. They can take their time. They need to be careful coming in through the game window. It is one of the popular locations in LATAM to have those frost mats, but they've been cleared out diligently by G2. It allows Kayak to do his job, go in and get the diffuser down, but Lagonis, he will be on hand to stop that attempt. That puts the diffuser down cold on the ground. Still man advantage to G2, but Team 1, there's an opportunity here for them, Des.
There is a play spoiler once if Lagonis can pull it off all the way. You see the head! It's bright white in front of you as he's got the background of snow and you still miss him. Now it's Virtue going for the plant. Neskin by himself upstairs. That is going to cost them big time. time, and G2 are a team that are going to make you pay. 3 rounds on the bounce.
Certainly come in and take the toll. They will not allow Team 1 to pass in any single one of these rounds. Coming into round 4, G2 find themselves 3-0 up and running away with Chalet right now. We're going to see Team 1 taking a quick timeout here. There's no surprise whatsoever. This is all going against them. They are being really rushed. They are being hassled and they are being cut down.
They're being stomped, is the nice and clear-cut way to put it. In every single round so far, it has started out the same way. 2 dead on the side of Team 1 in seemingly the first 60 to 90 seconds or so. The first round was maybe a bit of an over-peak on their side. The next 2, 100% down to the pressure from G2. 2 different ends of the top floor, same setup. Grenade kill to start things off, and the second kill followed through just a few seconds later. So for Team 1, it's not for want of trying. They are wanting to disrupt G2 early on. They are wanting to slow them down, but G2's coordination, this reminds me of what we saw against them on their attacks back in week 1 of EUL against Team Secret on Consulate. They were coordinating flashes with Twitch drones going into Garage to get rid of things. You'd have Citizen charging into the back of site with full knowledge and information from the rest of his team. They looked super together. My worry about them for G2 probably still stands somewhat now, is their defenses didn't look as good as their attacks. Over the stage, that kind of balanced out a little bit, but here at SI, the big difference for me is going to be how their defenses go, because their attacks right now are looking crisp.
They really are. They're looking absolutely terrifying. I'm sure there's a lot of teams that are sat here waiting for their turn to play G2, taking notes furiously at this point, and they are not going to be looking forward to facing them on the defense.
Is that, Tim?
Furiously.
They're coming up very soon, mate.
You know what?
Furiously.
I had that in mind.
I appreciate the wordplay, mate. That is worth mentioning, of course. Again, we already touched on G2 will playing again next against another LATAM team in Furia. As you can see, the fist bumps coming through. Probably means that we're getting back into game very, very shortly. Timeout is done. Team 1 have had all the time they can now afford. Each team gets 1 tactical timeout per map to have a conversation when things are going wrong. And I imagine in their mind, they're thinking, this is our defensive half. We're down 3-0. We need to get something out of this half. We cannot let this continue. This is the best time that we can use it.
Looking at the player performances so far as we come into round 4, let's not forget that we have had a rehost after the first round. So the numbers that you see on your screen aren't quite accurate. They don't include that first round. But fear not, don't you worry. I can bring you the up-to-date numbers. And Virtue, he is 5-0, Des. He's got a 1vx to his name. That's the 1v1 that we saw back in that first round that he managed to win out. He is absolutely flying right now. And interestingly, Virtue and Citizen currently sat on 100% cost as well. They have had their contribution in every single round so far.
Unbelievable. And although it doesn't mean anything now because there's still the rest of the game to play, Alamo is currently sat on a negative rating of 0.01.
It's tough.
It's tough, but he has been bothered at the start of every single one of these rounds. Has not had a chance to do anything except place down some gadgets, fire a bullet before he loses his scalp.
It's interesting that you mention Alamo, Des, because that's the big question mark on Team 1 for me, is how, I said coming into it, he's consistent for them. He gets 10 kills plus a game. If you can't rely on that, if a team are able to shut that down, how are Team 1 going to perform without him? We've seen Neskin and Levy be able to come in and do the job. We've seen KDS be able to get the frags. But are they doing that because of the space that Alamo is affording them? When he is taken out early in the rounds, which we've seen so far from G2, how do they perform there? And right now, it's not looking too hot for Team 1.
Same tack as what we saw back in round 1 coming out from Team 1, by the way. The Mute and the Mozzie being deployed once more. The aim to be to shut down the intel from the side of G2, prevent them from executing this very utility-heavy... I don't want to call it an execute because it's more of an execute off-site to make things happen. There we go. One shutdown comes in, but it's traded back instantly by Citizen.
He's not going to have his duo shut down quite that easily, Des, at least not without making them pay. And that is the Jaeger of KDS, who has gone by the wayside. 4 versus 4 as we come to the halfway point. Neskin, he manages to get himself a nice kill onto oNe. And is this Team 1 waking up in front of us? They need to get themselves around on the board here. They need at least 2 out of this defensive phase to power them into that attacking half that will come after we've seen the 6 attacking rounds from G2. Neskin, he's got himself back down into that blue corridor now. It looks like Team 1, they're starting to turtle up on site, looking to just withstand the pressure that will mount from G2 in this final minute.
Final minute indeed. I mean, you're looking towards this main lobby control here with the hatch being opened up, bearing in mind there is, of course, still the buck up here, and he will start opening up into connector, so making it a little bit more difficult for the attackers to come raining through. Great trick coming out from Lagonis. Not really something you talk about all that often, but for Kayak here, he could have returned back up to get this hatch open, but by then I think he'd already pieced out and started going for the garage instead, because they need all these things open with only the one hard breacher on the side to make that happen. This could get real dicey for G2.
As you say, it's not always the sort of thing that gets picked up on too heavily as being something that can be really instrumental within a round, but just denying that access to that garage door area vertically could be a huge play. Now Citizen looking to move down blue corridor. He needs to find himself a couple of kills here and really power G2 back into this one. He sees a peek onto Lagonis for the first one, can't get the Kaid, looks to move in, gets a great kill onto Levy. Kayak, he gets one onto Alamo. Citizen in on the party. It's all of a sudden a quick swing, and G2, they have the advantage 2 versus 1. Kayak finishes off Lagonis. Team 1, you've got to be able to close those rounds out when you've got the advantage. G2, they don't need an excuse, they don't need permission to come in and take these rounds, and they've just ripped that one right from under the feet of Team 1.
Oh, tell me that as soon as you see Citizen crouch walking unknown to the enemy team on the Ash, that you don't get a little bit tight on the backside and think, oh, there's something big coming here. And sure enough, there was. 3 kills for himself, eviscerates anyone inside of blue, and all that's left is for Kayak to go for the nice little cleanup. Now the big question, Ace, you've had your tactical timeout, you've had your conversation, and things still aren't going your way.
I'm a little bit... why has Citizen been allowed to do that? He can't get that kill into gap. He gets challenged on the elbow of blue corridor. They know that somebody's there, but then no pressure comes. I know that you don't want to throw it away, you don't want to just dive into that gunfight, but Citizen just opens up the round there with that kill.
I think a lot of it came down to, once you're taking the peek, you're going to assume that Citizen isn't going to push once he knows someone's on that corner, and he'll hang back. What somewhat confused me was the Valkyrie not even looking towards the doorway, knowing that he was around the area. Surely the first port of call becomes, okay, we set up a crossfire here, we play defensively. The Valkyrie admittedly was pinned in because Kayak had tried to open up the garage and got that cross angle. He couldn't step too wide to challenge onto Citizen himself, but that just shows the confidence in Citizen, I think. Flipped the coin, made the call to go aggressive, and it paid off massively for them. G2 now 4-0 and up. And after the last game where Team 1 had 5 rounds on the bounce, on the bounce even, this is going to be a bit of a rude awakening for Team 1 of, oh my god, there are some terrifying players here at SI.
A 3k for Citizen on the round, and that's the point, Des. You know, you look at that situation and you think, yeah, in normal circumstances, you might not expect that to be pushed. This is Citizen that we're dealing with. He doesn't care about normal circumstances. He's not interested in whether you expect him to push or not. He's going to do one thing and one thing only, Des. He's going to go in there looking for blood, and he found it, and he turned the round for G2, and that's what's going to take to win Six Invitational. It's having those players, having that ability to win those almost unwinnable situations.
Absolutely. Well, let's look again at the setup. We spoke about this earlier on this exact same site at Bar and Gaming. It's going to be the return of the Frost and the Alibi. Now, we saw a good hold coming inside a library. They committed a lot of utility inside there. They have players in the corner, as they've got again here. Virtue grenaded him out in rapid time, inside about 60-70 seconds or so. Here it looks to be a bit slower, with G2 pushing in from the east rather than trying to push from the west. So it's a slightly different setup, no doubt a bit more peacetime for the players inside of library for now. But once these walls start getting opened up, as we've got Kanto getting to work on the bucking doing, that's when you start feeling a little bit more threatened. You can kind of see the triangle set up, the one on library stairs, the one on the mezzanine, the one inside library, that they're looking to play off each of the 4 here, Ace.
The entry battle at the minute all going in the favour of G2 as well. It's 3-1 so far. KDS only able to pick up 1 opener for Team 1, and what that means is 75% of the time they are playing at a man disadvantage. They are coming into these rounds 4 versus 5 after the first kill drops. Now, they've managed to keep themselves at a full complement for a little bit longer, and Levy, he's going to double down there and get the second opening kill for Team 1. This time it's going to go on to Kayak, and that takes a hard breach out as well. That could be some important utility loss. Now, you know, he's just going to sit himself on that upside down rappel looking into library, and G2 still trying to get control of that area and still struggling to clear out the mezzanine and clear out the library.
So unfortunate for Virtue, because at the time that the Leve swung out to get the kill onto Kayak, that was when Virtue stood up with the grenade in hand, didn't have his gun, couldn't go for the trade, did do a little bit of damage with the grenade in hand, I think, once he let it go, but now that he's out of those, sure, the shield's gone, but the player still lives. So some question marks to be asked there, timing a little bit unfortunate, I guess. One of those ones where, again, flip a coin. If you get it right, you get a kill tray back. If you don't, he walks away scot-free.
What is Citizen doing here? He's being allowed to move around again. I think there's just a little bit of awareness up on the mezzanine there that he's potentially moving from underneath. Lagonis has got himself locked in underneath the bar, but uNe, he could open the round up here with an important kill onto Levy, just clearing out the library. Now Lagonis tries to make the challenge. He can't lose that one, but Citizen somehow finds the kill. Neskin, however, with a double, and that leaves us with 9 seconds. 2 versus 2. uNe down 1 versus 2 for Kanto effectively here. Time is running down. He can't even find the first. It's KDS with a double, and that's Team 1 getting their first round on the board.
Oh, so many interesting moments in that round. We spoke about the earlier one upstairs, but also about Neskin with the step out to maybe find the double spray down onto G2, pushing from lobby across into hallway. Could have been massive for them. Just a couple of missed opportunities by a hairpin in cases. How on earth Citizen hit that shot back onto the Frost? I will never know, because that should have been a free one. This exact one here, he should be dead to rights. And look at that, almost a double spray down, but instead one walks away scot-free. Again, a fascinating round, really close, but at least for Team 1, it's a round on the board. They're almost getting done unto them what they did to Cloud9 in the last game, where it was 5 rounds on the bounce. I know that it's 4 here so far. Cloud9 found the 1 round on their attacking half that then enabled things to start snowballing back for them. Now it's like Team 1 are kind of feeling that pressure of the scoreline. The 4-1 to G2, a couple more rounds, overtime's guaranteed, 3 more rounds, and G2 walk away the winner.
I mean, Team 1, this is the first time, it's only the second game that we've seen them play, but it's the first time that we've seen them playing from behind. They were ahead the whole time against Cloud9. At no point were they having to fight back against Cloud1. It was all about just locking a result out after a very strong start, whereas here they need to show us some mental resilience. They need to show an ability to dig in than to get the result when it gets tough. And right now, it's not going to be easy as G2, they come into their final attacking round. It's going to be dining and kitchen. We saw this back in round 2. It went in the direction that many other rounds have gone so far in this game to G2. It was an opening kill from Virtue and pretty much all downhill from there.
I will stand by what I said, that I need to see G2's defenses before I can really stand here and say they look like one of the most solid teams that we have seen at SI so far, because their defenses were shakier earlier on at the start of EUL than their attacks were. We'll give it time though, still got one more attacking round for G2 to go. One last chance for Team 1 to give themselves a little bit of padding before they step into the second half. Identical setup to what we saw again on this same site, so nothing really changing. The one factor that has altered between this site and the previous one is that where G2 attack from seems to have been the variant.
It does. I mean, last time this setup really did not work for Team 1, Des. We've got Levy on the Aruni playing inside of Office, trying to hold that vertical control, very easily cleared out last time around. If you remember, it was a nade that just came in off the door frame from the balcony. Nice, easy opener. I think it was Virtue who got the kill on that one to start things off. So they need to get more out of that Office spot. They need to hold it for longer. They need to find kills and they need to waste time. They can't allow G2 to be picking apart the strategy that easily. This time the wall is electrified by Lagonis on the Kaid, so it's not going to allow the hard breach to just force Levy out of position, which was what happened last time.
Really smart from Team 1 to make use of that Kai when the Thatcher's banned away. Very difficult to deal with unless you can get those vertical angles, and even then you've got to commit resource elsewhere around the map that requires droning, it requires time, and time is something you don't get an awful lot of here in Siege. I know 3 minutes sounds like a lot of time, but when it comes down to brass tacks, it leaves you with even less to go for your execute. Every mistake hurts even more, so you want to be super mindful of things like that. Again, G2 are attacking from a different side of the map rather than going out towards K9 and trying to open up from mezzanine. Their focus is now entirely out from the west and then pushing in. They're trying to keep Team 1 guessing, I think, and any adaptations that Team 1 have made to how this site played out previously are simply not going to be effective because it's an entirely different attack ace.
uNe taking a lot of time there trying to find this Electroclaw, but he cannot get a handle on it, and that is just slowing G2 down. It's not allowing them to open up the double wall from K9 into Office, and it's just allowed Levy to waste 2 minutes this time, Des, rather than taking the opening death. It just seems like the Team 1 setup is working much better this time around. G2 unable to unlock the door so far. 40 seconds left to go, just gaining access to site. Not a huge amount of vertical control gained here. This is not going to be an easy one for G2.
I want to go for a plant here inside of dining by the looks of it. Forget about kitchen. They've got the vertical control above, and they've also got the horizontal coming in from lobby. Citizen narrowly missing his man. Neskin down to about half HP, but not dead. Alamo strikes first onto Kayak. It's gone again. Alamo steps up. 2 kills coming across onto G2. This should be that second round they're looking for, because in a 5 versus 3, there's only about 12 seconds left to play.
Diffuser is down as well. There's an awful lot of work for G2 to do. Kanto manages to get 1 kill, 5 seconds left to go. They are left trying to find kills. Lagonis, KDS, it's an easy mop-up for them, and that is going to be Team 1 taking their second round. And all of a sudden, Des, it looks like we've got a game on in front of us. Rather than being a complete stomp, a complete run over from G2, we find ourselves with a 4-2 half, and you know what? That's nothing too unusual in Siege.
It's like I mentioned, they were trying these different attacks, different areas of the map to push in from, different approach to opening things up, but the very big cornerstone of that round was that electro claw on the canine wall. Unable to get it opened up, that was a key point of their last attack, to get the grenades in through the door, to force pressure from anyone trying to rotate out, for example. They had it cleared out in about 75 seconds last time, but here, never ever got the control that they needed. Now we step into the second half. This is where my interest gets piqued again, Tim. How we're going to see the attack coming out from G2 is going to be a big deal. Defense, sorry.
Citizen coming in with a Capcan pick there, so me interesting setup to watch. He's gone on the 6th pick, not going to take the mirror, going to bring the Capcan instead. So that to me speaks of just trying to slow things down. You putting those traps out just to force Team 1 to take their time to check every angle, check every doorway, make sure that they are safe moving through.
I like the caution coming out from Team 1 as well, bringing it on the Lion, looking at that and just saying, well, the Nomad's banned away, we can't easily control G2. What can we do instead? Bring along the Lion, just try and find out where these individual players are. You've got the endless drones, technically, I suppose, in the form of the Iana as well. The other side for me is just look at the disruption game, though. We spoke about the Capcan coming out, but you've also got the Pulse, you've got 3 C4s to step in there, you've got the Melusi on side of sight, the Mute and the Mozzie for the intel denial. This is just screaming that G2 are going to make Team 1's life as miserable as possible. Forget about the roaming so much, watch out much more closely for the C4s.
Still quite a heavy top floor presence for the time being. Look at that, oNe trying to open us up with a peek to begin with. Is he going to get his man? He certainly does! What a view we get of the kill onto Alamo, and what a defensive start for G2. Does that answer your question, Des?
It's the butt gone as well. It's Alamo on his best operator, the one that has got in that top killer around the world. 102 kills in stage 1. Beats out even players like Shaika or anyone else you can think of that may have done anything. Here, he's really not being given time to shine. Had an awful first 3 or 4 rounds, and now he's being spawn killed by oNe. Man, guy can't catch a break.
Sloppy from Team 1, I think we've got to call it. You know, you've always got to be alert and alive to that danger at this level. You cannot be taking peeks within the first 6 seconds. That should have been a free kill for Team 1. They should have known that oNe was looking out of that window and was looking to make that challenge. You get around there and you pre-fire it.
What I find really funny is in the first map we were commending Team 1 for their drone play as well. How good they were at having these more ambient drones, the ones that would have sat in the environment being quite passive, just collecting information on rotates and such, yet there's nothing at the start of the round to say, is there any hijinks going on? Probably because you don't see too many teams go for hyper-aggressive spawn peaks like that, but it pays off, and that is going to be a big disruptor in this round. Let's see what Team 1 can do there. They've still got the Lion on Soldier. You saw that first scan come out. Imagine that's a sign for G2 to get it back to site here, worry less about playing hyper-aggressive on the roam, as Team 1 are now in the building.
Halfway through the round, and we haven't seen the G2 defense disrupted too much yet. We've still got Virtue on the library stairs. We've still got Kanto on the Mozzie inside of library. So right now, Team 1, they need to be very aware that their flanks are exposed here potentially. Citizen's going to take some damage there. We are, of course, in a bar and gaming site. So that vertical control of library could be key, and right now Team 1, they don't seem to be making too much progress into it. Virtue's going to take a little bit of damage, but not enough to force him away from this fight. Kanto, he gets a kill from library, and as I've said, it's all about the top floor, Des, and it's all about the inability to stop G2 doing whatever they want. oNe, he finds himself a second on the round, headshot onto Levy this time. Virtue will be downed finally on the library stairs, but with 45 seconds left to go, there's an awful lot of work for Neskin and Lagonis to do here.
He's wasted so much time as well. They're drawing out both of the frags, drawing two gunners' attention. Two of them have gone down, mind you. This might be something coming back in for the side of Team 1. 3 were injured, 1 gets completed. This is basically a 2 versus 2. Now Neskin's down. Everyone's hitting the desk. It's like some weird dance move, Tim. Lagonis by himself here. On the thermite has got it all to do. And something tells me in 15 seconds that's just not going to happen.
In a smart move from G2, Virtue was collected. So effectively, we find ourselves now 1 versus 3. It's all down to Lagonis on the thermite. He gets shut down as he moves into sight. Neskin finished off as he was downed by the nitro from oNe earlier in the round, and that's going to be a successful defense for G2, Des, and things are looking dicey for Team 1 right now. Things are looking dicey for a lot of teams who might have to face this G2 because they are looking good today.
It's 5 and 2. We're having a spicy game here, and behind us on the other side of the wall, I can hear Demo and X also screaming their lungs out at what's going on. This is what we came for on day 1. We came to be entertained, and entertained we have been so far. Just a repeat of that cheeky spawn pick, in case you want to see it repeated a few times over. Alamo, again, big pain to lose your top fragger so early on in the round to something as cheap as a spawn peak. Just goes to show. Really helps to get those drones down though and be aware of the cheeky plays that teams like to come out with.
For me, Team 1 against Cloud9, they just looked a little bit sharper than they do right now. Things like that, for example, you know, losing the man there to the spawn peak. I just feel like maybe, I don't know, the back's against the wall this time. The pressure's on, and maybe that's just affecting the thinking a little bit. And, you know, it's something that they need to maybe address and just look at calming things down. And, you know, ultimately, yeah, you're going to have tough games. It's the Six Invitational. Of course you're going to have tough games, and it's just about how you react to that. You can't switch off in the early round like that. But what's done is done, and we come into round 8. It's G2 5-2 as we move on here. We're going to be heading to Snowmobile this time for our defensive site. No Capcan this time around, Citizen this time instead bringing the Vigil Des. It's always an operator that I enjoy watching, of course, able to keep himself off the drones. So if you're going in as an attacker on your drone and the Vigil cloaking device is activated, you'll get the little white lines, but you won't get any visual sight of Vigil. He will, for all intents and purposes, be invisible to your drone.
But then also pair that with the mutant Mozzie like we've touched on a couple of times in this match. It's just going to be absolute hell. Even worse when you've got the Malusi to stop anyone rapidly pushing into him, for example. Can't imagine if Citizen's out on their own that you're going to see those Malusi Banshees committed towards helping him out. The AoE field they give, you step inside it, you get slowed down. It's about as simple as it can get. But incredibly difficult for players to be able to peek into that because of how slow you are as a result. For the side of Team 1 to get things off, looks like it's going to be the Solarium take. That's going to be their entry point. Now, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a couple of members of G2, not just on the top floor, but also from downstairs in Trophy, looking to challenge onto this should anyone try and push in too aggressively. Maybe for G2, it's more of a game of guessing where are they going to come from right now? Where are the drones pushing in from? Is it a bait? Is it not? Because they'll have remembered their game on Oregon where Tempera baited the living hell out of them with a drone, executed with the... I'm thinking of the Amaru. There's too many A's in this game now. Aruni's taking over my vocabulary. They've been baited by drones before. Play it sensible, play it safe.
G2, they are very mobile up on the top floor, moving around and again just trying to hide their locations, make it difficult for Team 1 to pin them down.
Stairs.
Out comes the nade onto Trophy Stairs. Neskin, he's unlucky, does not get his man. Will clear out any utility that may have been placed there, but still, for the time being, 5 versus 5 as we're halfway through the round and Team 1 still haven't got a handle on these roamers.
Still keeping them busy, absolutely. Look at the number of drones they've peppered on the other side. So far, there are 7 drones dead. They brought down this utility game so heavily, being denied by the Mute and the Mozzie out on the roam. These 2 or 3 players that have been out there slowly dialing their way back to site will lose Virtue in the process, so not ideal. But given you've wasted 2 minutes and burnt through all the utility game, knowing that on site there are still Mute Jammers and potentially a pest or 2, this is going to be so painful for Team 1. They're going to have to push in blind.
Well, this is the thing to remember for Team 1. They haven't even started pushing onto the basement yet, Des. They haven't had a single boot on the bottom floor of the map. They are still challenging in and around that mid-floor. Now we can see G2 have finally got themselves back to site, and that for me, Des, is an almost perfectly executed roam. They've wasted 2 minutes and 15 seconds, only lost 1 man and got 4 back to site to turtle up for that last 30 seconds. No matter where Team 1 push from, they are going to be pushing into a line of sight here. There is only one option, and that is to go in, take gunfights and win them, and right now that is not going to be an easy thing to do against G2. They're struggling with the utility clearance here. Neskin Neskin. He will take down that electrical, but more time is wasted. 14 seconds left to go, and it is all down to Team 1 to rush on in, and that's exactly what they'll do. But Kayak, he finds one onto Neskin. He finds himself a second, a third. It's easy for Kayak as we find ourselves 2 versus 2. Levy, no option but to try and get that diffuser down. He'll be found. There is no two ways about it. He can't come off there. Citizen, he finishes things off with a double at the end, and it was just too little too late for Team 1.
That is probably one of my favourite defences that I've seen on Chalet so far. We saw an attempt at that sort of style come out of Team 1 in the first half, where they had the full 3-story defence, but for G2, they've just executed it near perfectly. If Virtue hadn't have died, that would have been the perfect roam. 2 minutes wasted, 7 drones down, utility committed. Everything was working against Team 1, and when it came around to execute, they've got to deal with a Kaid Electro Claw. Like, oh my god, how much do you want to frustrate the boys on Team 1, G2? Because they were absolutely reeling off that, even more so. Now that it's 6-2, the back's against the wall, they've got to pull off some kind of magic to fight their way back into this game.
Basically the equivalent of what we see from the SSG roam on Clubhouse, but translated here to Chalet and played perfectly. As you say, you've got Vigil, Mozzie, Mute, so it's just complete area denial, it's complete information denial up on that top floor, and then it's just about judging the time. And for me, what G2 did so well there, Des, they were mobile and they just had Team 1 on a string at all times, and it was just down to them as to how much they pulled, how much slack they gave them, and then they just dip away from the confrontation, having waited another 30 seconds and just drop back, drop back, drop back. It was like that onion defense, just peeling away the layers until you get to that solid core that, to be honest, nobody wants to take a bite of.
Onions have layers? You'd do a great Shrek impression, I'm sure.
5 seconds left. I'm not going to do a Shrek.
We'll stick with the laser gates, the Pleiades, the sexy gates, all that's still to come, I'm sure. And speaking of the laser gates, Kanto is bringing along the Aruni. Only seen it brought along 2 or 3 times on this map so far, but this is going to be G2's attempt at it. I wonder if we see a similar thing to what Team 1 did, where it's used on the softer wall just to stop the utility coming flying through onto the members that were sat off the other side of it. Stop grenades singing through and catching members out, as Team 1 so often experienced on their defences.
The amount of attention being paid to those windows there shows that Team 1 have learnt a lesson about that peak that oNe managed to pick up onto Alamo, and now being very careful about approaching the map. But effectively, once again, Des, it's just that adaptation that's too late. You've already lost your man, you've already lost the round on the back of it, and now G2, they're not going to try and peek again because they know they're not going to get away with it. They've had their fun and they have moved on to a different style. So Team 1 looking to get aggressive here, just opening windows, piling bullets in through them, angles being held. They need to move quicker than they have done previously, particularly in dealing with the roamers. They can't allow G2 to burn as much time as they have been doing so far.
It might not have quite been a spawn peak, but you still had Citizen looking to contest there onto the window at the top of Library Stairs. Just saying, by all means, please do try and put a Claymore down, but I will be at the window contesting you 45 seconds into the round. Just reminding them that G2 are present and are more than happy to challenge, and in fact, there's Virtue from above. I feel for Team 1. You get anywhere near getting inside the building, there is a G2 gun standing nearby, more than ready to threaten you, and with the way it's playing out, this could be another really slow and painful round.
Kanto, he's just... Everybody on G2 at the minute just seeming to hold their angles now, coming into that second half of the round. oNe trying to feed as much information. He gets the spot there. He knows that there's a man pushing underneath in the garage. Alamo has opened up that floor with the book, but he's had so little impact on the game this time around. It's G2 certainly seeming to have put a focus on closing him down and keeping him out of the action. KDS will find a kill onto oNe, but then Kayak, he manages to find one onto Neskin on the tight angle with the shotgun there, leveling things off, and that is again, Des, something that G2 have done so well here today, that is trading out those losses. Wherever there is a kill comes in for Team 1, it always feels like there's one not far behind for G2.
Kanto going to go hyper-aggressive here, sees the man outside, can't quite connect the shots. Oh, could have maybe finished him off, but not quite to be the case. KDS going to stay alive. Alamo onto Citizen, 2 crucial kills going down, but that clock waits for no one. Alamo a second, he's putting it into 5th gear. gear here, Ace. He really wants to get this round for Team 1.
He needs to at this point. They need somebody to grab a hold of this game and to drag them back into it. KDS, he gets involved. Kanto brings himself back to a 1 versus 3. Diffuser going down. Lagonis will be able to, but doesn't have the time as Alamo, led prone, finds that final kill onto Kanto, and that is another round on the board now for Team 1. We find ourselves 6-3, but G2, they are certainly in the driving seat still. They've guaranteed themselves overtime as an absolute minimum here. They're just looking for one opportunity, Des, one round, and you've got to say, from what we've seen so far, it feels like a matter of time.
That round was entirely on Alamo as well, really stepping up there towards the final 30 seconds and collecting the critical kills they really needed. But for G2, still a good round. We mentioned how earlier on they were being aggressive at the windows, looking to challenge Team 1 as soon as they got anywhere near the building. Just couldn't quite connect on a couple of critical kills that really would have swung things their way. And one player I want to give a bit of a lean to here is Kayak. Citizens had a stellar game, as always, currently set on 10 kills. But Kayak, I think there are many that came into this saying, you know what, we haven't really seen how things have played out without Pengu. How's it going to be with a new man stepping into the table? This is what we have seen from him. It hasn't been out and out 10 plus kills every single game, but with the most clutches in the whole world in stage 1. 6 clutches to his name, the one against VP being the one that no one in the EU is going to forget anytime soon. I think it's fair to say he's most definitely left his print on this G2 team.
He has, and the big thing is Des, that he's carving his own path. He's not coming in and trying to be Pengu. He's not coming in and trying to take on that specific role or do things in the same way. He's coming in and he's doing them his own way. As you say, he's carving himself a very solid path and position inside of this G2 roster, and he's going big for them today. 7 kills, finds himself second in terms of G2's leaderboard, only to Citizen, who he's having a great day.
Actually 12 kills, I've just realised as well, because we have the rehost in round 1.
Yes, of course. 10 and 3 on the board for Citizen, but 12 and 4 overall. Citizen particularly is flying so far in this first matchup for G2.
Similar setup for Team 1, as you'd normally come to expect. The Iana and the Lion, hoping to temper the aggression coming out of G2, but they're bringing along that Vigil special once again. Malusi this time round on the Virtue, so a couple of rotations round. I believe it was Kanto on it last time around, whereas it was Virtue playing on the Mozzie. So between them, still rocking the same sort of setup. No cheeky spawn peaks coming out, but you're looking towards the damage that someone like Citizen can do as he evades and dodges his way around that information gain coming out from Team 1.
oNe playing on that pulse once again, just absolutely ringing every drop of information out of the map that he can now then.
You know,
he sees the man, he's going to have to look around to try and find him, and looks like the rappel saved the day there just to get Team 1 out of the way. oNe just spots him out very briefly again, but this is all about information. It's all about finding those players. This is not about making direct challenges for oNe. He doesn't want to give his life away too easily, because the amount of information that heartbeat scanner can feed back in can be absolutely huge to direct your players like Virtue, Citizen, Kanto in towards those kills. Now Kanto finds himself the Gemini decoy that was being sent in from Neskin. Works effectively like a regular drone, just looks like another Iana.
It does indeed. And I like again how G2 are making full use of the full 3 floors to make this roam work out. It was Kanto and Virtue initially. Virtue dropped away, but isn't done. In fact, he's gone to call for backup as Citizen has now joined him, and the pair of them are likely going to try and aggress onto Team 1, starve them for as much time as they can. Oh, Levi, sorry, knows someone's behind him, or knows someone's in front of him. Sorry, Virtue has no clue. Traded out by Citizen, the second or third time this game I've seen Virtue traded by Citizen. Again, the pairings never too far away from one another. Down to a 4 versus 4 and 44 seconds to play. It's all the 4s. Someone call Shaiko.
Levy a little bit unlucky there. Had he been in a position to make that challenge sooner, I understand his trigger discipline. He wanted to guarantee himself the kill, but by moving forward to the top of those West Main stairs, that's what put him into the line of sight for that quick re-challenge from Citizen to come in and get the trade. So a little bit unfortunate for him. I understand the reasoning, but KDS, he manages to find Citizen on those library stairs. Team 1, they're looking strong again here inside of this round, but 3 versus 3 as Kayak finds one, Kanto doubles down, and all of a sudden we find ourselves with a flurry of kills. Team 1 come out on top again, though Alamo and KDS, they're the ones left, but Kanto, he's just going to play this hard angle, shut down by Alamo, who finds the head of the Mozzie and closes out another round for Team 1, and this is almost like a mirror image of the last game that we saw, Des, where G2 come in so dominant this time instead of Team 1, and it's Team One having to fight back, but boy, are they fighting back.
Alamo will not roll over and die. The last 2 rounds, it's come down to him in these big clutch moments, and he's stepping up and picking up such critical kills. We spoke about the pressure when they were down, when it was 6 rounds to G2 and saying, there's no way they managed to swing this back with 4 rounds in the row. But this is that point, especially where if you're a LATAM fan, I think, which you are, Tim, where you start believing. You start thinking they've done it twice. What means that they can't possibly go on to do it again?
I said this about Alamo, he gets at least 10 kills a game. That's what he does. And even when he's had a really quiet start to the game, he now sits overall on 10 kills, and he's coming in there and doing a massive job for them. This is when they need it from him. They're struggling, they're behind, they're facing match point, and they need Alamo to come in and get those big kills. He's 8 since the rehost, and the majority of those have come in the last couple of rounds.
Whew. G2 Esports looking lethal. That's what we like to see, says Tinuan. Yep, I absolutely agree. They were looking lethal, but somewhat being tempered here and neutered by Team One, who are starting to break their ankles a little bit in the starting stages of these rounds. I'll still give it to G2. Roam play, excellent. Looking fantastic in the amount of time they're wasting in the early round. The late round, when the pressure starts to build up from Team One, is where they're starting to crumble. So, not perfect yet, but much better than what we saw from them at the start of the UL.
It certainly is, and the thing you've got to remember at this point, Des, is we're in the Six Invitational here. These are the
could have forgot, mate.
These are the best teams in the world, so as much as you come out and a game looks like a stomp and obviously you say, Team One are fighting back, of course they're fighting back. They are one of the best teams in the world, along with the other 17 that joined them here, and there is potential in every single game for those advantages to be turned around and for teams to make a fight of it where it may be unexpected. Now KDS, he's applying quick pressure towards that top floor. It's an area so far that we've seen G2 hold on to very, very well, and Team One, they do seem to be doing better and better at shutting down this roam.
Right, it's Citizen again, just driving by windows and firing bullets out. You've got Kanto being a little bit cheeky. In fact, no, I don't think it was. It was Kayak who was swinging out this time round. So, rotating round who's contesting the window. You've got Kanto holding close, killing drones through windows. G2 playing the same really heavy roam game. A cheeky run out from uNe. Picks up a kill onto Neskin. Second time that he's, well, caught them unsuspecting at the start of a round is the way I'd describe it. Down goes the Lion, goes down a second, it's all fell apart, but Alamo goes, don't worry Des, I'm still alive, there's 2 kills for me. It's a 3 versus 2, can he pull it all the way back?
Lagonis joins in, they have Diffuser in hand, they have time on their side, but uNe is just proving to be an absolute nuisance with that heartbeat scanner, Des. He's played the last couple of rounds from the basement, he's not been picked up, he's not been challenged by Team One. For me, that is a prediction they could have made. You know what, uNe's going to be downstairs, let's send KDS and Alamo in there quickly, clear him out, and the information is done, and they find themselves an advantage, whereas now they are 2 versus 3, and one of those 3 is basically feeding information on their positions or their lack of a position in certain areas of the map, giving G2 defenders all the information that they need. There's 1 minute left to go. I like to see that Team One, they're taking this steady. They're trying to get the information. They want to know what they are heading into. Lagonis, he gets himself into position to be able to put that diffuser down if the opportunity presents itself, which right now it seems to. We've got uNe downstairs. Surely he's aware that this is happening, Des. Surely. Alamo on the cover. He gets Citizen, Des. It's 2 versus 2. Diffuser is activated.
How on earth have they managed to get away with this one? They had a pulse, for God's sake. You would have known he was coming in for this, but Alamo's done it all! It's an ace all the way through. We said it, the 2 kills. Can he bring it back? That's 3 rounds on the bounce. The best fragger in the world has dragged them back over the finish line. What is this?
What are we seeing, Des? That was a heist. There is no other way to describe it. That was a snatch and grab. They've gone in there and they have looted that round. They have taken it away from G2. They've stolen it, Des.
Oh my word.
Fever rate of the highest order from Team One. There is no way they should be winning that round. 2 versus 5, and Lagonis, he just sneaks in there like the diffuser ninja and gets it down on the ground while Alamo is on the cover, and then Alamo says, you know what, Lagonis, don't you worry. You've done your bit, you've got the support, you've got the diffuser down. Now, hold my drink, because I've got one coming in here. I'm going to do my bit, and I'm going to finish off this ace.
Alamo's just screaming, Citizen who? Hand to the ear, listen out, sorry. Citizen who? Unbelievable. 3 rounds on the bounce, saved by one man. Can he do it, or can the team do it? 4 rounds in a row to take it to overtime. At this point, I just want overtime. I want 4 more rounds of this madness, because again, let's not take it away from G2. Their roam game is phenomenal. They brought it down to a 5 versus 2. In 99.99% of cases, you look at that and say there is no way a team comes back from 2v5. But the problem is, most teams don't have Alamo. Let's see how this round plays out. Ace G2 have been at match point 4 rounds in a row. If you can't do it now, boys, there's questions to ask.
We've only seen Master and Office defended once by G2 back in round 9. Guess who won it, Des? Team 1 won it. It was the start of the landslide that we've just seen. 3 rounds in a row they've managed to take on the bounce there, and they are moving with some serious momentum now. And that Alamo ace, that's just going to pep them up even further, Des. That's the energy drink down the neck. That is the heart racing now for the entire team. That is them pumped up and ready to go.
I imagine for a good number of you just tuning in as the game on the other stream was finished, where Liquid just beat FaZe. Welcome! We're in Sheer Manders here, where G2 were at 6-2, and it's now 6-5. Alamo starts it off with the opening kill.
6 kills in a row, Des!
Oh my god, what is this, man? A double kill.
Another! Surely not! He can't go back-to-back aces, Des. Surely not.
He's on the floor. It's shattered into 1,000 pieces as to how this keeps on happening. They've got the pings coming out. KDS from one side. You've got 2 or 3 players pushing one man here, and they are being punished for this roam game. He's stuck on the other side of Pillar. They find this kill. Suddenly you're a believer. Believer you will be. KDS onto Kanto. It's a 5 versus 2. It's the exact reverse, Ace. I think we're going to overtime.
I think we are at this point. 5 versus 2. I've been telling you for days, Des, that Team 1 were a side with surprises and upsets in store, and that is what they are delivering. Picking up a win against Cloud9 in their first matchup. They are now on the verge of taking G2 to overtime. 3-2, however, as G2 dig deep and fight back. It's all down to Virtue and oNe. 2 versus 3, but they have got an age of time to waste here, Des. Team 1, they can afford to just settle back. They can just take the time. They need to take the foot off the gas here. They don't want to get roped in to these gunfights that they are losing. That would play right into the hands of G2. It's time to just take stock, step back, get the drones out there, and just start the second phase of this round.
They've still got an EE1D to play with as well. If there's any kind of drone info, like there probably is now, they can pinch the man. Lagoon is hanging off around the corner. No one moves. Sees his backpack, but it's not quite enough to put him in the dirt. Oh, he peeks onto it. Virtue's gone down. A 1 versus 3 as it steps up now for oNe. Can he hold on? The namesake for G2. He's been here for the longest time. He finds 1. There's still 2 left, buddy, and there's 45 seconds to play. Something tells me this is going to come down to frags. It's got to happen now, Ace.
Screaming in my ears, is that oNe 1 versus 5? And then now Alamo finishes off Virtue. It's all down to oNe 1 versus 2. All I can think is that ace, Des, that he got in EUL. We know that oNe is capable of it. He's got the information. The heartbeat scanner is ringing. He gets the shots, and that brings us down effectively to a 1 versus 1. Alamo is down. It is Lagonis versus oNe. He goes to pick his man up. Lagonis takes the choice. 8 seconds left to go. This is going to be close. The diffuser, it's going down. He needed the cover. Alamo from beyond the grave. Can he get them to overtime, Des? No, oNe finds 1. It's 1 versus 1. Diffuser's activated. No. Shots come in. Exchanged. Lagonis now has every advantage. He goes to make the challenge as he gets it. Team 1, they're taking us to overtime.
Holy crap, what is this game? It's madness. 4 rounds on the bounce. It wasn't even Alamo to do it in round number 12, but it's going to overtime. It's another best of 3, and G2, rightly so, calling overtime there because they need a breather. We need a breather. Ooh.
Alamo, the man that died twice in that round, he was put down. He was picked up by Lagonis to offer the cover whilst he tried to get the plant down. It was a great decision from Lagonis, but ultimately he didn't need him. He managed to get the first few vital bullets onto oNe and left himself in an advantageous position with the diffuser down on the ground. He had the HP, he had the high ground, and he was able to lock things out for Team 1. This is the first overtime, Des. Whew, this is anybody's.
I'm going to need a shower. We've got a very short break after this.
Why do they do this to us every time?
No. The best part is this is only the 4th game. Think about how many games we've got happening across both streams this week. Like, just give me more of it.
Oh, honestly, I cannot get enough of this. My heart is absolutely racing at the minute with the excitement of this game, and we have got so many more to come. And the thing is, honestly, you look across the teams and you can come into it, you can try to predict, you can try to look at it and say, yeah, they should be the better team. But honestly, none of it matters when you get into this server, because it's all down to who wants it more. And over those last 4 rounds, Des, there is no two ways about it. Team one, they've wanted it more.
This may as well be the final with how much we're screaming. I don't remember, to be fair, I think it's because we haven't been stood behind a desk in 15 months. We've been sat at home, online, a little bit of delay, no desk. You can get excited and scream as we do, but you stand at a desk and we're both just turning away, screaming into our hands at how these rounds are playing out. It is obscene. G2 have no doubt had some words here saying, boys, we've defended well for 4 rounds. Our roams, fantastic. We wasted time, we killed members on the other side, but there's that one little problem. The ringleader in Alamo that's been keeping them incredibly busy. Team 1 start on the defense. Defense has been the curse for both teams. Is it a sign of things to come, Ace?
Bench is set.
Moving into our first overtime round, then it will be round 13, Team 1. You could argue they've got the disadvantage here, Des. As you say, defence has been the problem so far, and they move in as the first team to defend, meaning that they will have to defend twice, because our overtime is effectively a best of 3 rounds. So it will be defend for Team 1, and then it will be attack for Team 1, and then it will be defend for Team 1 if we get to that point. That's assuming that G2 don't win the first 2 rounds and take it at that point. So it's all down to Team 1 to try and book the trend now. They're taking a lot of top floor utility here. They are in dining and kitchen, and we've seen this setup twice from them, Des. It's worked once fantastically. It didn't work so well the first time. So we'll see this time whether G2 can gain themselves access into this exact area where Levy's playing. That was the sticking point for them last time around. Getting themselves established in office, it took them too long. They were unable to do it, and it burnt out the round for them.
The first time round, they cracked it really well. They had the players coming on K9 walls, someone from out on the K9 balcony, pushed in, grenades came in, Virtue, they had it cleared out inside about 60 seconds or so. It was really good. The next time round, they could not clear off the Kaid Electro Claw. That's what stung them. It wasted a lot of time. They were forced to go for a really subpar attack that ultimately cost them 2.5 minutes, staring at K9 wall, almost wishing it was open, chanting open sesame at it maybe. That wall wasn't going to go anywhere, and Team 1 won the round almost sheerly off that alone. So for G2, the style of attack, I think of coming from K9, great idea, but you need to get the wall open. You cannot let it stay electrified anymore. It needs to be opened by Kayak.
Citizen on the Ash looking to just apply a little bit of pressure from that west main window there. Can't get himself a view directly into sight. Needs to be very careful because Alamo is in there on the smoke with the SMG. And for my money, Des, I said it before the tournament, I'll say it again, Alamo is one of the best smoke players in the world. He is so capable with that SMG at range. Something that we saw during the Cloud9 game really punished them. I'm thinking particularly the triple kill that he had. I think it was in round 3 against Cloud9. Just absolutely dominated the top floor. And he's got himself locked in with some long angles and lines of sight and could prove a danger to G2. Lagonis, he's trying to hold on to Master for the time being, but he's forced into the crossfire of Kayak. That's beautifully worked by Uno and Kayak there as they get themselves in and start working across the top floor. Levy, he's going to need to hold on here. He needs to find himself a kill or 2 realistically.
Who knew, Ace? Third style of attack. First time around you came from the east, the next time around you come from the west, now you come from the north. Taking control of Solarium, Trophy, the basement downstairs. They've got full 3-4 coverage from the north side here and are now trying to push down south into the resistance coming out of Team 1. They've found one. The second comes out, though, to balance things back. 4 versus 4, and it's Alamo in Solarium doing the damage. That's going to put a massive spanner in G2's plans.
17th kill on the game for Alamo. He is heading for a solid 20 against G2 here if this continues. 4 versus 4. We've got a lot of damage down on the Malusi. of Neskin though, but Des, look at that counter, look at that time, 20 seconds left to go, and G2 not established inside of sight yet, still sending a Gemini drone in. There's 3 smokes in the pocket of Alamo. He's going to play out on this trophy window. Out come the flashbangs. Kayak gets a kill onto Levy. 5 seconds left to go. G2 need to make a move. They look to push in, and it's all down to Alamo once again. 2 versus 2. Time runs out, and Team 1, they put the trend as they get the defense. Are they going to lock this down and get the win?
How is he rotating through rooms like that? Uncontested, standing at the window, downs the guy with the diffuser. There's probably at least 5 rounds you can solo put on Alamo, either with his multi-kills or his late round play. You've been bigging him up, and I've been like, all right, let's see how he stacks up when he comes onto an international stage, you know? Long way to travel from home. How's he going to stack up against the international teams? Here's exactly how he's going to stack up, Ace, by dragging them towards the finish line against G2. 18-7. Can we do the typical caster thing here? I don't actually know. What is the LAN kill record?
26.
26, and who did it when?
Palu.
There you go. Of course you know, it's a LATAM player. Well, let's see if it can be surpassed. I doubt it in the space of the 2 rounds here, but this event will be keeping a very close eye because there are several new players. I mean, stepping in here, we spoke about Team 1 as the, I don't want to say the leftovers team, but when we had the massive roster mania in early March in LATAM, whole rosters were getting picked up and moved between teams. And Team 1 were the ones who, as you said yesterday, were stood at the end of a line. They had no one to pick up, so they pieced together a team from different teams around LATAM and are putting on a performance like this. They'll be the first team to be 2-0, I think. It's going to look absolutely phenomenal for them. What a start to SI for this team, and especially for Alamo.
I mean, you've just got to look at the last 5 rounds for Alamo, Des. Inside of the last 5 rounds, he has had 3 rounds with 3 kills or more. Back in round 9, he got a triple kill. Round 11, he got an ace. Round 12, he got a triple kill. I think he got a double in the last round. I think there was 2 kills in there. Yeah, there was 1 on trophy window and there's 1 up on K9 wall. So he got himself 2 there as well. He's just unstoppable right now, and it's something that G2, they have to put some attention to sooner rather than later, because right now they're on the back foot, Des, and they could be losing their opening game here. LATAM, Team 1, they are looking to come in with a strong start.
They just make him differently in LATAM. He's built different, is the only way I can describe it. And he's not even coming up against a weak team, because we speak about Citizen, Virtue, the kind of things they can do. Kayak currently doing quite well too. The question marks hang at the minute, I think, over Kanto a little bit. The impact in the first couple of rounds, good. But since then, been near enough silent on this more roam-heavy game. Let's see how things shape up, mind you. And Virtue as well, I guess a fair one to say, at 5 kills. He has been traded out a lot by Citizen, so I'll give him some kind of lean towards that. But let's see how this round plays out then. Again, the identical setup we've seen from Team 1 throughout this entire fixture. The Lion and the Yana has been their bread and butter, with Alamo picking up that all-popular buck. Surprised that in both the maps they've played, no one's banned it away from him. I'm sure teams will very quickly start looking at games like this and saying, right, Alamo needs that operator taken away from him.
The thing is, it's been happening all stage long in stage 1 back in LATAM, but the book has been taken away from him, but not here. The problem is that he plays the smoke so well, and teams really don't want to take that smoke away because they want to have it for their own use as well. So
problem is, Ace, the 4 rounds that he was basically clutching up were all on attack with the book.
Yep, this is the problem, and that's why we've...
Are you really going to let that fly?
That's why we've seen the book taken out, and as you say, as these group stage progress, and if we move forward into the playoffs with Team 1 still in position, which right now it's looking like we might, you know, I'm sure that's something we're going to see. Kanto's down, Des. Kanto's out as Levy finds himself a kill, and there goes Citizen. It's happening, Des. Alamo finds his kill. 5 versus 3. Levy is down, but Neskin, he finds Uno, and it is all going wrong for G2. It's looking like they might lose this one inside of the first 2 rounds of overtime, but no, Virtue and Kayak, they fight the good fight, Des, and they come back 1 versus 2 now effectively for Virtue, as Levy is down and bleeding out, but will be collected. 1 versus 3 then. Neskin, he gets a view onto the Malusi, and right now it's down to Alamo to finish off. I think that might just have been the 20th kill for him on the game as well, and Team 1, they take this in overtime, Des, and what a dream start to Six Invitational 2021 with 2 wins and 0 losses for Team 1.
Remember remember back in round 4 when I said, oh, Alamo's 0-3, his rating is minus 0.01. He has just stepped up, and I think he's going to end up exceeding about a 1.6 rating. 20-8 on the kills. You warned me.
You got to put him down. This is the thing. G2 had him under control. The problem is that you've got to go. It's much like, I don't want to just pile all onto Alamo. You could pick other players as well. Palu, Shaiko. There are many players, Rampy, many players around the globe who are like this. If you manage to keep them in your pocket, Des, you got to win the game. You can't give them an opportunity, because the longer that goes on, the more chance there is that they're going to do something like that to you. And G2 just didn't seal it quick enough.
It was 6-2. It ended 8-6 to Team 1. 6 rounds on the bounce, an unbelievable comeback, and Alamo makes his entry onto the global stage. I cannot wait to see these boys play some more games. But next up, we've got G2 stepping up against another Latin team in Furia. Let's go over to the desk after a short break, and then we'll enter into that next fixture. See you guys soon.